Hey everyone, I hope you're having an amazing day. Welcome to another episode of Platform App Builder Certification Series. So we're going to talk about the data security today. It will be a very short introduction today. So I'm going to do a little bit of hands-on as well, just to give you indication, right? So why the data security is important, you might wonder, right? So you might be a company, a small company or big company, doesn't matter. And you have, let's say, 4 employees working for you. So now think about a scenario, right? So you want your org to be secure, org, right? Everything in Salesforce is an org. So because you have confidential data, you don't want a unauthorized person to enter to your org and fiddle with the data, right? No businesses want that, right? Because that will be disastrous. So what you can do, you can set up a password policies, which is very important. You can set up logging hours, so you can make sure that employee logins from certain time to certain time of a day, and beyond that they were not able to log in. So you can do that. You can also do trusted IPs. So trusted IPs will not actually stop you from logging, but it will actually ensure that a person is logging from a trusted IP source. If they are logging outside that, they will be prompted with a key code, so they need to punch in, or a security code, what do you say, and they can log in, right? So that's one thing. And then we have an object level security. Object level security, right? Let's say you are a sales team, right? And you have created a custom object called sales object, and you only want people from, let's say, sales team to have access to the object. You don't want finance team to fiddle with the object. You don't want, the person to fiddle, finance team to create or edit or modify that object, right? So you can do that using profiles. Profile is the best way where you can. But that being said, if you wanted to give an access to, let's say, finance team, you can use permission. If you wanted to give access to a specific object, right, to a specific user, you can use permission sets. That's where it comes in picture. Right. Another one you can talk about is the fields. You can restrict access to certain fields, right? So for instance, you don't want access to, let's say, amount field, right? You don't want finance team to see the amount field. You only want the sales team to, see the amount field. So you can restrict access to the field. So that's pretty easy to do that as well. So that's one of the another level of, these are called field level security. Now, we talked about object, where you don't want people to access to an object to modify or delete, right? Then we talked about the fields, right? Then we have a record level security, like where it comes to the data level, right? Where you don't want certain records to be visible to certain users. So it comprises of, if you can see on my screen, it comprises of 4 parts: org-wide defaults, role hierarchies, sharing rules, and manual sharing, right? So org-wide default, let's say you set an org, it's a tighter form of security, org-wide default, right? So as you go up, right, or you can say as we can go down from role hierarchy sharing, you keep on opening this, the security level. So the org-wide default, let's say if you set it to private, then the person who creates the record will only have access to it, or the person who above the chain. For instance, let me give you a very simple example. You are a software development team, right? And you create you have your boss, let's say, software developers, and then development boss, right? So all the record that's created by software developer is owned by the software developers, individual software developers, or the boss. They can view the information, right? But let's say you also work with finance team, right? So you work with sales team, but that does not mean that Salesforce will have access to the records. So unless you share it, so that's where the sharing rules comes into picture. Your boss can access it because of the role hierarchy, because he or she is your boss. So that's where the role hierarchy comes in picture. So if you wanted to share your record with certain, say, who are not a part of your role hierarchy, you can use the sharing rules. But if you wanted to share only one individual record with certain user, you can use the manual sharing. That's one of the thing you can do that. So what we can do, let me log into the Wilson, my brewery. So it's as usual, you need to log into your org. If you're using Salesforce mobile app, you can log in there as well. So it's very important that you do hands-on. Please do not just watch the tutorial series or read the documentation and attempt the exam, right? It's not good. You need to do hands-on. You need to understand what you're trying to do. Okay, so the first thing first, right? We're gonna go to, so when you log in, you'll be in this nice looking setup page, right? If you do not know how to go here, so you go to the scarecrow icon and setup. It will take you here. Nice and simple, right? Okay, so you go to network access here, right? And so network access is where you set your IP ranges. So click on new. So this is the start IP and the end IP. So you can set that. Very nice, right? And so this will actually ensure that whoever logs in between these IP ranges, they will not be prompted with the security code. So, but if you enter beyond this IP range, if you try to log in to an org, beyond this IP range is mentioned here, you will be prompted with the security code. And once you punch in, you are in. Nice and easy, right? It will not stop you from logging into an org. So if you want the user from completely, logging in, if you want to ban the user from logging into org, that's a different setting. So, okay. So next thing I want to talk about is a password policy. Type password. So you go to password policies here. So, okay, so user password expires in 19 days. So this is governed by your IT policies, right? Your IT team might have a policy where they say your password should expire in 30 days, right? So you need to talk to your IT team and figure out to sort this, right? If you don't have IT team, then you need to work out a best strategy that fits your business model, right? So, like for instance, enforce password history. I mean, I'm not a fan of 3, so I'll prefer 5, right? And minimum avoid maximum invalid login attempt 10 is too much, in my opinion, but that's my personal opinion. So it should be 5. Your company might even have 3. So you need to work out with your IT team. If not, as I said, work out the best strategy which works for your business. Cool. Now, you remember I talked about logging hours where users are allowed to log in from a certain point of a day. Certain point of a time. Let's say Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Right? These are the logging hours you would expect your employees to log in, and beyond that, you do not want them be accessing the org, right? So you can do that by using profile. So before we do that, let me go to user first. Right? You go to user here, right? And let's say I've tested this test user, right? Okay, so you see profile. Every user can choose one profile, right? But you may or may not choose a role. That's not a problem. See, I don't have a role assigned, buddy. So using a custom profile, using a profile, you can restrict access to a user. So a profile can have many users, right? A user can have only one role, right? So one profile can have 50 users, or one profile can have 10 users. One profile can only have one user. Let's say you're a small business, four users belonging to the same profile. Nice, it's simple, right? So now, how do you restrict the user to log in from certain hours? So to ban them from logging from at certain hours, right? So you can go to profile from here, right? So note down the profile, custom sysadmin, okay? So profiles, okay? And custom sysadmin, right? Now, scroll down. You have something called login hours, okay? And so we don't have anything specified. You can edit here, and then you can specify the logging hours. Like, you don't want Sunday, you don't want them to log in on Sundays or Saturdays. You only want them to log in from Monday to Friday. You can do that here. Nice and easy, right? Simple. So this is a place you can do. Another thing you can also do is, just a second. Okay, just a second. Let me go back. Is to specify login IP ranges. So this is where you can control the IP ranges here, right? So you can add IP ranges here, right? So that's nice and simple. So that's more about how do you control on org level access. Tomorrow what we're going to do, we're going to talk about object level, field level access, right? We're going to look at permission sets. So things are getting excited. exciting, right? As we are going further in a security mode. So security is very important. Keep that into mind. Security plays a very important role. Even though you might think that they only talk about a few aspects of security for platform app builder, but you still need to know, right? How the security works because it's expected from you if you're a platform app builder or even if you're a platform developer. So you still need to know how the security works, right? It's very, very critical part of the business. Cool. That's all I wanted to talk about today, right? Thank you very much for watching the episode today. Adios and greetings from New Zealand. Bye bye.